The President, please be seated. The trial chamber is in session for today to continue its proceeding on the establishment and the operation of security office or the re-education center known as S24. Before giving the floor to the parties to put questions to the accused on the facts just mentioned, the trial chamber would like to inform the parties that the trial chamber wishes to remove another witness, KW24, because several testimonies considered sufficient, and there were some other witness statements that we will call for testimony, and those statements have similar contents as those of the KW24, and the trial chamber will read his statements when appropriate, as we have discussed in our meeting earlier, and the parties are not allowed to make comments at this moment, but your remarks or your comments or any suggestion to the removal of KW24, you should raise that comment or suggestion on next Monday. The security officer, please bring the accused to the dock. The President, next, the floor is given to the co-prosecutor to put questions to the accused regarding the facts for the hearing. That is the establishment and operation of S24. Please. The co-prosecutors, Mr. President, I have a number of questions to ask to the accused. Can you explain what are the differences between S21 and other local cooperatives and base? The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, S24, is similar to the cooperatives and other bases in certain matter. First is the right to live. It was the same. It was not decided by the standing committee, or it's the zone secretary that make that decision. But the differences were S24 they gather the people who have committed this kind of offense. As for the cooperatives and the base, they collected people based on the class origin. And another difference is that at S24, most of the detainees were the combatants of the CPK, and at the cooperatives, most of the people were the person with their family members and relatives all together. That's all, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. The Co-Prosecutor, my next question, what was the structure of S24? Were there any militia to conduct surveillance against those detainees? The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, it is a branch of S21 who work there at night. A number of people were assigned to spy or to conduct espionage and to listen or monitor the detainees. But I don't know for sure about the assignment, who was the chief, from what time. I do not quite sure on that, but yes, there is that kind of espionage. The Co-Prosecutor, when the information was collected from a certain detainee, what happens to them later on? The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, for detainees who were spy and reported, and they reported up to Comrade Hui. This is one of the steps. When there is an incident or evidence proving that he or she will flee, or they fled and then they arrested. So based on their offense. But in general, with just hearsay or the report, they reported to Comrade Hui. But when there is a real incident and they came to Comrade Ho, and when Ho and Hui made decision, and then we can take action. Were Ho and Hui reported to you about that? Response: in principle, it was an operational the function continued from the Security Office of Division 703. In case of urgency, then they reported to me. Question: can you explain about the special case? What was it? The accused, the special case, for example, Comrade Man, alias Sin Mail, he committed a series or several of incidents, and later he was reported to me because he was assigned there as the commander of the company there. So the people need to report to me on that. Another case which we discussed yesterday from the document, it's the documents talking about Sindara alias Sok and the family of Mailun, and the superior told me that before taking any action against these people, I need to consult it with the superior. This is the special case, Brother Mailun. I'm sorry, the family of Mailuns and the family of Comrade Sok, alias Dara. He was from the elements unit that kept there for espionage. So only in that special case, my subordinate would report to me. The co-prosecutor, you said that the re-education for the elements at Presor is to tempering forced labor and to respect the discipline in order to achieve that goals. Did you enforce any measure or action for your staff there to work on that? Answer, Mr. Prosecutor. So, to be straight on this matter, I did not give any consultation or any training to those staff. It continued from a little bit after the 17th April, and it continued in its way. But there was no special training, but there were annual study sessions through the party. Yes, I did that. Questions? If you don't have that kind of trainings, what can you do with Hui Srai and Presor that they adhere to the discipline and they work very hard? Can you explain about that? The accused to unconditionally respect the discipline. It's the condition imposed by the CPK that any unit wishes to fulfill that plans by the party. It is called the ideology of the organizational discipline. So ideology is the most important. Everyone had to work hard and adhere to the discipline without any condition. So during the annual study session and also the criticism and self-criticism, we also talked about this. Thank you. Question. You said that Presor was a fenceless prison. No one would rebel or would flee. Did you know what are the methods to be used there so that the detainees were fearful of rebellion or flee? The accused, Mr. Co-prosecutor, the measure to prevent the detainee from rebelling or escape, we try to work almost always with them, and they knew well about those detainees, about their behavior, and in addition, they had a night espionage. So monitoring is the key issues. And Comrade Hui, as the second step of their reporting system, first is the staff themselves work closely with them. Secondly, they conduct night espionage. So when they heard any chatting or discussion between the detainee, and then they keep following up. And if any incident occurred, they report it to Comrade Hui. The co-prosecutor, if anyone escaped or fled, is there any arrest made against the family member or relatives? The accused, Mr. Co-prosecutor, the arrest could not be made without consultation on the superior lines of command. That's all I can tell you.
Questioned, one of your staff in charge of the radio and flight, was it reported to the superior? Answered, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, the radio operator in Preso who fled, first I reported to the superior. It was Uncle Noon at the time. And then I also reported to Uncle Noon regarding the issue of Comrade Hui, because when a person who was close to the cadre, then that cadre shall be reported to the superior. For example, this is the case. Comrade Pon and I were close. If Comrade Pon fled, automatically the party would arrest me, because I vouched the biography of Pon before the party. So then the radio operator, when he fled, then his superior has to be responsible for the party too. That was Comrade Hui. And this is my response. Questioned, what was the measure taken in attempts to recapture the radio operator? Answered, the measure was up to the upper echelon because we had no direct connection with the local units. Thank you. Next question. During the questioning of the fact on M13, the killing method on the prisoners were used in order to threaten other prisoners. Was such method used at Preso or S24? Answered, personally, when I ordered a person to shoot a victim, the person who did the shooting was the one who allowed his weapons to be snatched away, and a few days later he was shot and left. And I myself was shocked too. So I didn't talk about that event anymore. Concretely, after Nat's era, I never heard of such incident, and also such incident was not heard at S24, and I never instructed my subordinates to implement such method. Thank you, says the co-prosecutor. My next question. Do you believe that your staff at Preso, especially Hui, might use such method? Answer. I do not believe they use such method. Co-prosecutor, thank you. Next question. The elements who were sick, were they allowed to rest or were they forced to work while they were sick? Answered, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, I could not provide an answer because I was not there. If the victims provided testimony, then I would wait to listen and to acknowledge if that were what happened. Question. Were you aware that when the elements were forced to do labor and couldn't complete the quota, then the security staff tortured them at the time? Were you aware of that? Answer. I did not hear it directly. I only heard it in the present time. And yes, I acknowledged it, that It was an incident that happened there. Question. You said the elements at Preso, if they make an offense, they would be sent to S21 or directly to Chương 8. What kind of offenses to have them sent to these two locations? Answered, the serious offense fall into two categories. One, the plans to rebel. The second, an attempt to escape. These are two serious offenses. And regarding an offense, for example, in not having zeal to work, it was not serious and they would be re-educated. And if they could not achieve the quota, then they would find a way to make a report to the upper echelon to request for the person to be smashed. Question. Can you specify what types of offense for them to be sent to S21 or what types of offense for them to be sent to Chương 8? Answered, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, let me add to what I said yesterday. The sending directly to Chương 8, after they were considered, their confessions were not required. So their confessions would not be long. So they would be sent to Chương 8. And for those whose confessions were important, then they would be sent to Phnom Penh for the extraction of their confessions. Question. Based on which principle were they sent to Chương 8 directly or to S21? Answered. It is a combination of the biography of the persons made by Comrade Ho and Hoyt and based on their previous activities and their backgrounds. And their background activities were already part of their biography. Question. The 160 children who were sent directly to Chương 8, before they were sent, how long did they stay at S24? Answer. I am not sure. I could only estimate that the children who were sent to Chương 8, altogether 160 of them, they were those who were kept quite a longer time. That was the total. At first, probably there were 3 or 4 of them who were kept at a time. And the teenagers would go into the rice fields during the rainy season to catch mice. So I am not sure how many months they stayed or how many months they were used. And I think the proportion of the duration or time was not equal amongst those children. Question. Is it true that because they were children who did not have enough strength to do labor, and because S21 did not want to spend food on them, that's why they were taken and killed? Answered. That is the second reason. The first reason is that the Communist Party of Cambodia was afraid that the children would take revenge. That was the main factor. And nothing else could be used to counter that main factor. Thank you, says the co-prosecutor. Next question. What measures were taken in taking those children from S24 to Chương 8? Answered. This is a technical issue and I was not aware of it as I was not there. In principle, the children were not kept because they were afraid of the children taking revenge based on the party's policy. So regarding this technical issue, I was not on the ground and I could not answer it. Question. Usually, the prisoners who were taken out would be transported on a vehicle and they were shackled or cuffed. Were those children cuffed or shackled when they were transported in the vehicle? Answered. I did not see it and I could not estimate if that was the case. Question. You said the decision on the elements at S24 was made by the S21 committee. You did not make any request to the upper echelon for their decision. Did you report on the killing and the transfer of those prisoners to the upper echelon? Answered. I can recall that there was a report, but it was verbal. There was no surviving document. Even at the office 870, there was no written report, only a verbal report. Question. So, did you agree that you were the person who decided the fate of the elements? Answer. Speaking directly to the point, I was like the upper echelon. I only received the figure, and actually the decision was made by the subordinates who were in charge of such affair. They had their authority, and I myself, of course, I knew the figure, and I only reported that figure to the upper echelon. Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have any more questions. I would like now to give the floor to my international colleague, the President. The international co-prosecutor, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours, Council, and Mr. Gang Guk Yu Wu. Perhaps if I can just pick up on the last point that you made, stating that you didn't decide on the fate of the elements. And when we talk about the elements, we're talking about the large detainee population at Presa. You didn't decide on whether they would live or die. Is that correct?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, in principle, I was responsible for this decision. Although I did not make it personally, I am still responsible. However, what happened was that the decision was made by other people and they were responsible before me and before the party. That was not to let the elements rebel or escape. So these two people had to be responsible before me and before the party. This is my response.
Mr. Kanguk, what I was going to do this morning, I was going to put to you your conflicting accounts through the co-investigative judge's file and your conflicting accounts in your testimony yesterday. However, maybe it's better to jump straight to the point. In relation to people detained at S24 at Prey Sar and to have them brought back to S21 in Phnom Penh, are you saying that was your decision or it was your subordinate's decision? Just that group of people that came back from Prey Sar to Phnom Penh to the compound, was that your decision or was that your subordinate's decision, Paul and Hugh Sray?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, from my recollection before the co-investigating judges, I said, in principle, they were responsible before me and before the party not to allow them to escape or to rebel. And for the details, they would make decision, except in the case of the family of Kamrat Sok and Mailun. That was what I said. And except those 30 people who were with the instruction from my superior to be re-educated for 1 month and were sent for the reintegration. And that was what I reported to the co-investigating judges, and that was what I said yesterday, and I don't think it's too far apart.
Thank you. And Mr. Kanguk, we do understand the difficulty of testifying at great length to the co-investigative judges and to this court, and been asked by numerous questions by different people, so we do understand the difficulty of that. But to be clear, in relation to those people that came back to S21 from Prey Sar, those people, you were told of that decision afterwards. It was reported back to you that was in fact what happened, but that was after the fact. You weren't involved in the decision making, were you? You delegated that decision making power to Ho and Hugh Sray. Then you found out afterwards that those detainees were brought back to Phnom Penh. Is that correct?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, it is very hard for me to say if there is any evidence of what I said to the co-investigating judges, and there's a new evidence showing things differently, then I would say or examine. And this doesn't mean that I deny my crimes. I am responsible for my crimes. However, what I reported or testified before the co-investigating judges, I only have some of those statements, not all.
Mr. Kanguk, I think everyone appreciates your admission of responsibility in these crimes as a general matter. But perhaps if you cannot think about what you said to the co-investigating judges, maybe not think about what you said yesterday, but if you can tell us now, from your memory now, back to when you're at S21, it's the case that you found out afterwards that these people were arrested and brought back to Phnom Penh. Is that correct?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, that is correct.
Perhaps in that same vein, along the same lines, is it also correct that those people that were sent directly from Prey Sar to Chung Ek, those decisions were made by Ho and Hugh Sray, and then you found out about those decisions of those killings afterwards? Is that correct as well?
The accused, fundamentally, that is correct.
I'm just trying to create a little clarity from yesterday. Then it's fair to say as well, is it not, that you trusted Hugh Sray and you trusted Ho as your fellow S21 committee members? You trusted them in depth. Is that correct?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, in the working environment, yes, I trusted them. However, if you allow me to elaborate, I could say they never put us in danger. That is, they prevented the elements from taking any rebellion activity. That's why I trusted them, and they never allowed anyone to escape.
Apart from when the radio operator of Hugh Sray's escaped, apart from that incident late in the Khmer Rouge period, you were proud of Hugh Sray, you were proud of Ho for implementing the party line in a disciplined and strong manner. Is that fair?
The accused, I believe them in principle.
And just to finish the matter, you had complete and effective control over what Ho and Hugh Sray did. And when I say that, I mean if you wanted to stop Ho from doing something or stop Hugh Sray from doing something, you could have quite easily because of your position, your power.
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, my authority was full. If I want to know anything, I can do that. I can ask anyone to report. I can stop anything. I want to direct anything. I can do that. It was my true authority at that time.
And I think we can all understand why you delegated your authority to Ho and Hugh Sray, because there were so many things to do at S21, so many things to manage, so many people to train, and so many confessions to annotate. And also, Prey Sar was a very large agricultural production establishment. And because of that, there is no way in the world that you could have attended to all of the tasks that needed to be done. And that would be the decisions on the killing, the decisions on the torture, the decisions on maintaining the conditions. That's why you delegated, because you couldn't attend to it completely yourself. Would that be fair?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, in principle it is correct, but I would like to add a little bit to that. So as it was their experience, I allowed them to continue.
And I think I also understand why, in relation to very important prisoners, prisoners that perhaps had come back from Presa, why you would need to contact your superiors in relation to them because of the threat they may have to the CPK. That's why you contacted your superiors in relation to those type of detainees that were brought back from S21, S24. Is that correct? The important ones.
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, your understanding is correct for those and the family of Mylon and the family of Sok Sindara.
And just going back to the reports that you received from Hugh Sray and from Hor in relation to the arrests of staff from Presa back to Phnom Penh, and in relation to the killings of detainees at Chung Ek from Presa, is it fair to say that these activities occurred over that 3-year period? People were not brought back from Presa to Phnom Penh, to S21 there, in one bunch. It happened over a series of months, a series of weeks, over that 3-year period. And the same with Chung Ek. People weren't taken to Chung Ek from Presa on 1 day or 2 days. It was an activity that was happening on an ongoing basis when those incidents arose that caused Hugh Sray and Hor concern. Is that correct? The reports came to you as to these incidents throughout the 3-year period.
Half enemy is half friend, but it's not clear whether he or she is a friend or enemy. The terms was used in practice is more serious than the 17 April people. Yeah, it is more serious than the 17 April people.
But could I ask then, was it easier then for the staff in S24 when they called them element to ill-treat them, to force them to labor and so on? Was it easier than call them by name, for example?
The accused, yes, it is correct.
Thank you. Now I come and move to another issue. Have you been aware at the time that group weddings were ordered during the decay period? This is a general question.
The accused, Ms. Lawyer, I would like to explain a bit longer. In Phnom Penh, I never saw any wedding, and they just call this man is the husband of that, so it's the mock way. So myself, I have a fall in love with my wife for quite a long time, and then I request to be married. So at S21, there were only 2 couples, Pon and Ho couples. So 4 others were married by the former unit because of the men and women fell in love with each other and they were married.
This was not really an answer, a full answer to my question. I would like to repeat. Have you or were you aware at the time, in general, I do not ask about your case or special cases, were you aware about the policy, I would like to call it a policy, a practice of group weddings in general organized by Ankara? Were you aware about this practice in the country? Very general.
The President, the lawyer, you seem to ask the question which not related to facts, so the accused may not respond.
So, Mr. President, this is only the introduction question for my next question, which is directly related to S24 and what we have already discussed. And I really would like to allow the accused to respond. It is only the introduction.
The President, your request is denied, and the accused is not allowed to respond to any question other than those that fall in the facts for the hearing.
My next question is then, some days ago, we have seen a photograph of the meal, of the wedding of Nun Hui and Kern. Was this marriage a group wedding?
The accused, as far as I recall, the Division 703 married the couples, and I invited the new couples for a party at my house so that I can introduce them to other comrades. It's only 1 couple was married by Division 703 then.
At least in the English translation, this was a contradiction. First it said there were couples married and then only 1 couple. Can you please clarify? Were there 1 or several couples, and if so, how many couples married together at the same time with Nun Hui and Kern?
Mr. President, the question was outside of the facts, so the accused need not to respond. And lawyer, please reframe your question to be to follow with the facts that we allow for your questioning. So repeated question and the leading question and the question with the explanation, it is not allowed to be asked. So your time is almost run out.
Mr. President, I looked at this clock and I have still 5 minutes. Thank you for this advice, but of course I need explanations to introduce the questions. If not, it is meaningless. And these questions only to explain, I will not refer again to this, but show, of course, living conditions of staff and which show how they lived in S24 and could demonstrate also how their private life was made live, organized by Ankara. Now I come to my next question. Can you give me a reason for, you explained that men and women in S24 were separated. And is this correct?
The accused men and women, when they were not a married couple, they had to be separated, and if they were couples, they can meet each other once in every 10 days. This is the policy or principle of the party.
And can you give, if you know therefore a reason, can you give a short answer with a reason for this separation?
The accused, Miss Lawyer, the reasons, there is nothing rather than to put together the force, physical force, and to avoid any spending time, husband and wife, enjoying together.
Thank you. I come now to my last question, which concerns the general policy at Kraysar. If I'm right, what you have said yesterday and today, the successful re-education, which could be followed by release, was impossible. Is this correct?
The accused Miss Lawyer at S24, none of them was released. It is clear.
And then I would like to get an answer to my question, why was S24 necessary if they were in any case sent to be killed, be it S21 or Chungek? Why was this interim, let's call it interim center, necessary?
The accused, I would like to tell you that it is the decision from the party in that management and organization. I can only say my understanding about their policy. As far as I understand, those people and the party had no real and sufficient decision to interrogate, to torture, to execute, but they decided to keep them for a while so that they can make further decision. This is my understanding. It's not a written decision from the party.
Thank you.
The President, and it is now time for us to take the break, and we will take a 20-minute break until 11 o'clock, and the parties and the public, please come back before that time.
President, please be seated. The chamber is now back in session. I would like now to give the floor to the civil party lawyers of Group 3. If you have questions to be posed to the accused, the floor is yours. Much honored. Thank you, Mr. President. Your Honors, and thank you, Mr. Accused, for answering my question. I only have 2 questions for you, and I would then ask for my President's permission for my colleague to continue to take the floor. Yesterday, you claimed the people who were arrested and sent to the re-education office S24 at Preso was that before they were sent to Preso, they would be sent to the location marked R. So the question is, when they were placed at the location marked R, how long were they kept there, and what did they do to those people before they were sent to Preso? The accused, Ms. Lawyer, the R location was on the maps that I drew for the co-investigating judges at Street 360, and that location was purchased by Mr. Mom Somnang Do for his beehive radio station. At that time, it was like a temporary location to receive those people. So after the people at that location received, then they were sent directly to Preso. Thank you for your information, says the lawyer. My second and last question. In your mind, when you were in charge of S21, including Preso, did you believe that those people who were regarded as the elements were dangerous and could cause any risk or danger to the party? The accused, Ms. Lawyer? To believe it completely, no. In simple layman terms, is that I, of course, believed to an extent, for example, 10%. Much honored. So I can conclude, and can you say whether my conclusion is correct? I can conclude that you only believed 90% that the elements would be a danger to the party. The accused, let me reiterate, I only believed 10%, not 90% like you said. So it means 90% they would not be a danger to the party. That's one point. And the second point, you had the right and authority to decide on their fate, because the right to smash them halfway was on you, but you chose by ignoring them and dedicated the responsibility to your coordinate. Is that correct? The accused, Ms. Lawyer, that is correct. I dedicated the authority to them to decide. Thank you for your cooperation. I would like now to give the floor to my colleague. Thank you. Main key. Thank you. Dear Mr. President, Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen, let me continue the question for Group 3. The questions from our victims to the accused in 3 cases. One, they want to know whether people were taken to be smashed from Preso for the reason of stealing fruit or one piece of potato. And in the second case, regarding the digging of canal for 3 days without food or even a single grain of rice, and they were forced to work constantly from 2 a.m. until 5 p.m. And in the third case, a lighter was used to burn the elbows and the knees of the female youths who were sick and could not work. Were you aware of these 3 cases? The accused, Mr. Lawyer. The pain and suffering of the victims, I would not deny it. I accept them all. If I did not issue an order, then I would not know. But I would not deny it, all the sufferings by the victims. Thank you. My next question. It is also the words conveyed by the victims regarding the method of smashing that you said. I did not hear that you ordered the smashing of people by slashing throat, by beheading the prisoners. So the question by the victims is that, did the case occur because the people were taken from Preso to Chiang Ai by beheading the 160 people at Chiang Ai? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, I heard this as an information, but there is no evidence to show whether it happened or not. So it's hard for me either to accept or deny it. But yes, I have heard that incident. When I was the chairman of S21, I did not issue any order for beheading any prisoner. That is number one. And number two, I did not hear any information regarding the killing, and after that the heads were removed from the bodies. Menki, thank you for your explanation. I am still unclear that if there is no evidence to confirm that the beheading took place, can you confirm that the beheading was a result of taking the heads to show as an evidence instead of providing the report? The accused, I would like to confirm with you that only important people whom were afraid to be released by the S21, so we were ordered to photograph them. Regarding these 161 people were not amongst those who were ordered to be smashed and photographed. This is my clarification for you. Menki, thank you. My next question. You said Preso was a part of S21 in the implementation of the party's policy line. And your response to the chamber was that there were only two remaining classes, the peasant class and the worker class. How come in Preso there were those people who were within the peasant and the worker classes and they were also smashed? Was it the intention of those people working in Preso to do so? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, in theory, two classes were promoted to be the main classes. However, in the implementation, if you were in the peasant class and you betrayed the party, then as an individual, you were an enemy. But for the overall class, yes, the classes were respected. So you acknowledge that what happened was in conformation to the party line? The accused, in implementing the party line, it's going to be very deep and long. Let me answer briefly. The implementation at the time was biased. We respected the peasants, but not in the actual implementation. The peasants in the north were easily killed. They only promoted the peasants of Tamok. So that was a bias. That's why I drew the cartoon to show the misimplementation of the line at the time. So, and that was the implementation by the standing committee, and it was wrong. Main key. So this means the implementation of the CPK political line in Preso or in the North Zone, like you just said, was a biased implementation from the actual line of the CPK policy line. Is this correct? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, whoever caused the misimplementation of the line, we need to know who was the source. And the source was the secretary of the party, that was Pol Pot. So we could not protest, we could not object. This is my response. Menke. I have my last question to you. You talked about the bias implementation by Pol Pot, the party secretary, and that it was done toward Preso. In your view and understanding, the sweat and the blood and the screams of the victims and the victims' relatives at present time, should there be a level of responsibility for those who implemented the biased political lines? Can you tell us that? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, if we talk straight to the point, the crimes committed on the Cambodian people after the 17th April 75 until the 6th of January 79 were the CPK's crimes as a whole on the entire Cambodian people. More than 1 million people were lost. I only blamed one superior. I declared when the trial started that Pol Pot raised the deadline because he had thousands, hundreds of thousands of supporters behind him. That's why he dared to raise the line. So, the killings of more than 1 million Cambodian people was the responsibility of all those party members. They had to be responsible before the party, and the nation and the world. So, not only the party, but all the members had to be responsible for this and had to acknowledge that it was wrong. And particularly at S21, I am the one who committed the crimes, and I am responsible for the crimes. They were the superior, they raised a wrong line, and on behalf of the party, I am responsible for the crimes. And I am responsible for the crimes before this ECCCC tribunal. Thank you, Mr. President. Group 3 do not have any more questions for the accused. The President. Now I would like to give the floor to lawyers for Civil Party Group 4. Mr. Kim Hong. Thank you, Mr. President. Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen, I put a question directly to Mr. Kang Gach Evelius Dutch due to time restraint. Yesterday, you spoke about the Baku Center, and you told the Chamber and the President that it was a part of 703 Division. Can you say when you requested the Baku location to be under your management, when was that? The accused. I could only estimate the year. I think it was in 1978, when all the soldiers went to the front battlefields. Thank you, says the lawyer. You also told the President and the Chamber yesterday that the Baku location or center was later managed by S24 or PRISO. Is that correct? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, that is correct. Thank you, says the lawyer. You also told the Chamber that you went to PRISO, or the President said we could call it S24. I am not clear. Can you verify you went to PRISO, to the Hui Srai's location? How many times did you go there? The accused, Mr. Lawyer. I went to PRISO for 4 times, and I went to Baku for 1 time when Comrade Hui was arrested. Thank you, says the lawyer. As you already told the Chamber regarding the categorization of the elements into 3 groups, 1, 2, 3, and the 3rd group, if we talk about the prisoners, they were the most serious prisoners who were to be smashed. And what about in Baku? How many categories were those people divided into, or were they still called elements? The accused, Mr. Lawyer. Baku was a small location. There was a residence of Lunnon and a few houses and one water basin. It was only reserved for the staff of S24 to use as a residence. And as for the elements, besides the time that they worked, they slept elsewhere. Thank you, says the lawyer.
At Baku, you said that the elements were also sent to work somewhere surrounding Baku. The accused, yes, they were sent to work there, yes. Lawyer, thank you. My next question is, who sent, I want to say, the group of elements, most of them were women, children, or men? The accused. This is, you are talking about the real practice that I've never been in that position. I could not answer. Lawyer, thank you. Based on the minutes of an interview by the co-investigating judge and also the same in the agreed fact, in principle that you said the policy of the CPK and you received the order and then you further order to your subordinate, your staff or your cadre or your female combatant and male combatant, including in S21 Phnom Penh and at S24 Prisor. So what was the limits of authority that you delegate to subordinate, so that how many hours, how long that you order your subordinate to force those people to do the work? The accused, in principle, when there was a strong attack or offensive, we enforce 8 hours working day a day. But it is 30 days, over 30 days a month. The lawyers, thank you. Were you aware of the situation where those subordinates enforce 13 hours a day for those detainees? The accused, yes, in the offensive season, it was unavoidable that they enforced that. Lawyer, thank you. My question is that those you refer to as elements, including the category 1, 2, and 3, all of them provided the biography and exposed with the photo on behalf of S21? The accused, I'm not sure. It is the practice at that time. I did not make any instruction like that. The next question from the lawyer, did you ever receive a report in form of biography of those elements through Comrade Hui Srai or Comrade Ho to you? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, I maintain the same position. In my capacity and authority, if I need anything, I will get it. But I allow my subordinate to do the job. A question. You told the chamber about S21 or Tuol Slang and Prisor or S24. It was established since the Division 703 under NAT. it means that it is a little bit after the 17th April 1975, and it operated until 6th January 1976. And you also told the chamber that S24 was a re-education center. It was not only for the staff from Tuol Sleng, the staff were from other units. My question is that what was the difference between the persons or the people who were considered as the prisoner at S21 Tuol Sleng and those who were in the elements at S24 and that you refer to as a half prisoner? For those who transfer to S21, so anyone sent there shall be smashed. So what happened to those detainees at S24? What was the political policy toward them? Was there any different decision than you made at Presa, at S21? The accused, anyone who were arrested and sent to S21 Phnom Penh. S21 had to detain at Punyayat High School that we turned it into prison. Secondly, we had to interrogate with torture, and thirdly, we took them out for execution. For those who were detained, who were at Presa, the question earlier, you said that you call them contemptible or anything. So, and general, beating and torture for interrogation was not allowed, and there was no smash without any reason. So they should wait until the times. So those who were in elements unit, they had to work hard to respect the discipline, and they had to always order their chief. So they have some possibility to survive, even though the likelihood for this is more, but there's some possibility for them to survive. So the difference is only that. But for those who were detained in Phnom Penh, were all end up with death. Lawyer, question. You said that the possibility to survive is just to continue the life, or in principle, at the end of the day, they will be smashed? The accused, the possibility to survive is to continue onward. Unless he or she committed any offense or wrongdoing. So if you can follow the order of the chief, you can survive. Is to continue onward. Unless he or she committed any offense or wrongdoing. So if you can follow the order of the chief, you can survive. Lawyer, thank you. Before the break, you told the chamber about the elements and on the fact, the document D99 on the introductory submission and the agreed facts. It mentioned about the prisoner who suffered the punishment on the immoral offense, or the prisoners pretended to be sick or late in coming to work or do not perform that satisfies to the boss. They was experience torture or beating. My question is that at the re-education center at S24, do they have the right to move or to walk around at night and during the daytime without any permission? The accused, no. Question. So at night, could they go out from their house or their detention facility outside somewhere? The accused, you come to the real practice. I am not in a position to say that, but they could come out for defecate or to small thing like that. Question. In that regime, I'm talking about S24 Preso. It's similar to question made by Sergei Stusinski. Was there any mass marriage for the staff of S24, the president? So the question is not fall in the fact, so the accused need not answer. Question. The management at Preso, because I do not receive any information on that. So what does the immoral offense in the sexual transaction, what does it mean at Preso? The accused, it is the same for S21 and S24. The immoral offense in the sex matter, it's men and women have sex without any marriage. This is the definition of the immoral offense under that regime. Lawyer, I have another question as permitted by the President. It is the offense which the victim should be sent to Cheung Ek and to S21. What was the offense that caused the detainee to be sent to either direction? The accused, I mentioned already, there were two offenses: is the plan to rebel or any tendency to oppose, act against the God. This is the serious offense, and the second main offense. And in addition to that, the immoral offense is one of the serious offense. But during the period when I was the chief of S21 and also S24, there was no incident of immoral offense between men and women. And there was none of the case that I report to the upper echelon. That's all. A lawyer, thank you. I would like to ask your permission, Mr. President. And he said that there was two offenses. So what about the transfer of those children directly to Cheung Ek? The President, please, the accused, you need not answer this question because it was already asked. But they commit no offense, but the policy then was that they were fearful of revenge and there were not food supply for them. So your time is running out, Mr. Lawyer. And next, the floor is given to the Defense Counsel so that you can put the questions to your client on the establishment and operation of the Re-Education Center at Presor, or referred to as S24. Lawyer Kasavut, Mr. President and Your Honors, Mr. Kang Kek Yew, in your response to the question made by Mr. President yesterday, you said that at S24 and S21, the right of movement was limited and it was enforced against the prisoner, and you said that it is also enforced against the staff of S24 and S21 and also against you. Is that true? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, it is true, absolutely true. Let me give a short description. The freedom of movement. We have to travel only on the assignment. So I went to Presor. It is in the framework of assignment. When I went to work with the superior, it is in the framework of assignment. So everyone across the country had to follow that framework. So for the interrogator, they never went to anywhere because they had to follow their assignment in the interrogation. So any travel had to follow the permits. Lawyer, yesterday you said that you never visited your mother or your home village. So in practice, can you explain about the right of movement? Was there any restriction on that? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, as I told you earlier, travel had to follow the assignment to perform duty. It is important, but the party sometimes allowed, for example, after my marriage, the Angka allowed me to send my wife to Long Wake, and then later after that, I was allowed to accompany my mother to Stone. So the chamber also heard that I said I went to Brother Hawk. I did that. I had a permission from my superior. In a very few cases, the party allow you to do that. It's not very often. Lawyer, thank you. The next question. Yesterday, you gave an example about the staff of Nun Hoi who fled. Was it easy to fled during that regime because his staff, the radio operator, can fled successfully, and is it easy at that time? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, when you are talking about fleeing, we need to look into two aspects. First, someone move out from the location, from one location to another. It is okay to do so, but when he or she stay in any other location, so there was no destination in the decay that would allow you to do so. There was some people fled from the unit, but they can do that by hiding in the forest but they had no food to eat, and then at night they will come out to look for food, and they later arrested. So if someone went out from the unit, you can do that. But the question is that where can you stay? So they will be considered as the enemy, as the bad people. So another example that I can give, on the 29th of October, I fled from Skon to join the revolution with the Khmer Rouge. So I can do that because there was the people who support that activity. So in conclusion, for those who were in the network, but when you fled away from the network, you will be arrested. So I was assigned to work in the Northeast, but my network was cut off at Kyrgyz, and later I was sent to another place. So the secretary named Suipal fled, but he hid next to the Chinese hospital. We need to think on this matter. Another case, my superior survey me every day. I cannot flee. If he call, if no one pick up the phone, and they will take every measure to that effect. Von Wet could not escape, and any other could not escape. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Kasabut. Yesterday, in response to too many questions, you said the word re-education means to re-educate and to build oneself as new and become a new person. What does it mean to re-educate and to build oneself as a new person? And as for you yourself, you did not receive any re-education because during that time you were already a new person during the S21 period. Can you describe the method of re-educating oneself to be a new person? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, I had an intention to move myself, to transform myself from an ordinary person to a communist person. That was during the 1964 through my training and tempering. And the party recognized me that I would be able to join the party and finally would be a party's member. So I was a new Dutch who was so different from Kang Kech Il, who was a maths professor in school. Thank you, says the lawyer. So when you were a professor, you were an old person in the old regime, and Dutch, the chairman of S21, you were a new person in the Communist Party of Cambodia. And Dutch, at present time, during this current regime, are you responsible for the lives of the 160 children, and how? Just to recap, those children were sent directly from S24 to Chương 8. What is your responsibility? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, I reported already to the chamber whatever happened, especially the development of a human being's feelings, it moves steadily. And my impression on the crimes also move steadily. It started from 1973. I said I was shocked for the loss of lives, and that was since 1973. And it progressed from there, and I wanted to leave. And this is not a pretense or to pretend that I am suffered, but that was the progress of my feeling. And finally, let's cut it short, I am willing to be responsible for the souls lost by comforting my emotions, by praying to them. So that was one aspect. And when we met together at the military court, from the legal perspective, the blame I could place on the government, because I could say I was a policeman at the time, and it was the responsibility of that government at the time. However, now we met again, the three of us here before the ECCC. We came across the questionings during the investigation phase, and now it comes to the trial at the chamber before this court. Do you see me as another new person? I bow myself before the Cambodian people, and that is my attitude. Thank you, says the lawyer. Let me continue my question. Before any element was taken to be smashed, was a decision made at your level, or was a decision was made above you? Can you clarify on that? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, I reiterate again to the chamber that the elements who were re-educated at S24, and based on my own analysis and conclusion, I think it was for all the country. The principle was the party gave the authority to the supervisor at the locations on the issues of re-education and to stop, to prevent any rebellion activity and their fate. So, in general case, as I reported to Mr. Co-Prosecutor Smith, I was busy and dedicated the authority to my subordinates. And when I said that, it doesn't mean I try to evade from the responsibilities, but because of the workload, I dedicated the work to my subordinate. And to answer your question, I can say, they made decision on all matters. Thank you, says the lawyer. Now let me ask you regarding documents. The word release. Initially, I want to ask, did you see the document D 15914.10 and document E 47.10? Are they the same documents as I understand? What do you think? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, these two documents is the same document with two reference numbers. Actually, they are just one document. Kasabut, can you state that you still maintain your position that the E4710 is a smashed list? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, document E47.10 is indeed a list of smash. If so, asked Kasabut, why Ho wrote to be released? Can you verify on that? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, the word release, through my analysis and conclusion, is just a shadow of the trick that Nat taught Ho, and it was still instilled in his brain. Probably Nat taught him we could use a strategy in writing that we released, but in fact we smashed them. So that's why he tries to write the word release through me in the case of actual smashing of the combatants and cadres amounting to this 100 number. So it was a feeling instilled in him. And how come I analyze it that way? The document D57 Annex 003 is an example. This document entitled Document of Battalion 96 of the company and the document of the company 44, and it entitled for the release. However, the document is with the S21 because the word TSL is another evidence to show that. So when the document is with S21, it proves that Nat indeed used Ho to lead Comrade Hunt, the secretary of the Battalion 96, to smash people, but on the document it was written to be released. So that is the first evidence, and Ho himself believed Nat. And for the document E5/2.8, Comrade Ho wrote it to be released on the 8th of March 76. So the feeling still in him. That's why he wrote the word to be released. It was from the belief in Nat that this line was implemented by the party. Thank you, says the lawyer. Can you explain the word to flee or to escape in E47.21.22 and .23? What is the actual definition of that word? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, in my entire life in leading the work at S21, I never heard the word successfully escaped except the one person who was the radio operator. Particularly, the cadres of the company Sumail alias Man in the document E47.23, serial number 102. I knew this person clearly. He had weaknesses, two critical weaknesses. One, he did not do his work properly. He couldn't accomplish anything. And another big point, he respected Nat the most, and he did not listen to anybody else. And toward me, he did not dare. So it's hard to use him as a guard, and he could not be used to interrogate. So Comrade Ho and I decided to have him send him to the rice field. And finally, I sought permission from the upper echelon to arrest him. And this mat had various incidents, but in this document, document E47.23, at serial number 102, some male alias man, 24 years old, male, age 21, chairman of company, agriculture section, fled on the 24th of October 77, captured on the 27th October 77. So that was stated in the document. However, from my recollection, it did not happen. And relying on this document, the documents showing about the fleeing of the prisoners was probably one of the tricks used or practiced by Nat. They had to face the serious task imposed by the party. So no one could escape, no one could rebel, otherwise you had to be responsible before the party. So I had to provide them with these instructions and to encourage them to do their work properly. So in order for them to strive their best to survive, they tried to seek other alternative methods. And whether someone could escape or not, the person would be arrested. This is my initial conclusion regarding the word fleeing in document E47.21.22. And for E47.23, it was an explanation. An explanation in the total summary of E47.22. If we read E47.22 on the first column, it talks about the unit. The second was removed. The third, flee. And the fourth column, it was escaped. So if we looked at the fourth column of E47.22, we could see the writing there. But on the E47.23, it stopped with this person, male. So there were some mentionings of those who fled, but I do not believe it, because there was no information that I received regarding the escape of these people. How could they escape in mass number like this? The base unit would definitely arrest them, and then the report would be sent to the upper echelon, and then I would be responsible before the superior. So, if the escape broke out and the base unit arrested them, then they would try to seek the original location where they fled. So I don't believe in it. I believe this is a strategy to use in order to conceal that those people were taken out and smashed. This is my summary on the word escaped. So nobody could escape. And the document E47.21, 22, and 23 would show that I still don't believe that anyone could escape. Let me talk about E47.21. He wrote, TSL 4.513. There was Hui handwriting that 1 is missing, 2 is missing, 10 are missing, and in details, did he write? Made on the 23rd of October 78 of his 21 with the Hui signature. So this is clearly a document of S24 under the supervision of Comrade Hui, and it was sent to S21 in Phnom Penh. That's why there was a reference number TSL. And also in this E47.21, it said 32 escaped, 16 recaptured, and the 16 people disappear forever. If that is the case, then the base units would arrest those 16 people. So, in summary, E47.21 is still showing the strategy that it has to be written that way on the document, but in fact, they were taken out and smashed. So this is just to protect themselves. Let me continue. E47.22 also has the reference TSL 4.527, and the title was about the statistic of those who lost or missing. The first column, it talks about the unit 11, 12, 13, etc. And the second column, it talks about the removal. The total was 2,350 people. On the third column, it talks about the death. 2,227 dead. And on the fourth column is 102 escaped. So this figure was extracted from E47.23 because it talked in details in that document. I acknowledge that these are the documents of S24 which was sent to E21 with the reference TSL on the document. And on the third column, it states that the 102 people who escaped, as I said, based on the document of E47.23.
However, I would like to draw your attention about the number of removal is 2,350. If you compare to this number to the report by Comrade Hui in 1977. In 1977, it's 2,350. I was surprised about that. I am not denying about my crimes, but I can give you a conclusion and analysis under my leadership. So the number is not true. It's not 2,350. It is the statistic since the beginning of the S24 and 227. That it's also from that duration. If it is true, the report should be known to me. I think to be clear, there may be more documents surviving from Bresau. This is 443 at S24. It was not sent to S21. So we need to find out when did it start. Was it from the beginning or the establishment of S21? It will include in the common list of the victims. So if it just started from 1977, we should do a further search so to find out the real number of victims. So we need to find the truth, especially my crime against those victims. So we need to work together to find out the truth. I will not contest about my crime. So I can make this explanation based on the existing document. Lawyer, I would like to ask another question, and it is my final question, said the lawyer. Why did they use this term in a tricky way to say release instead of killing, or sometimes they use the term flee instead of the acts committed? The accused, Mr. Lawyer, it is a trick of NAT. As far as I read the documents and my analysis, but during that time I didn't see this document. So the document, it's a lie to say that the detainees were released. D57 Annex 003 and document which the civil parties E2/56 file a complaint. We can base on these two documents and put together and report to the upper echelon because NAT was weak at the time. The documents recorded the meeting of 1920 April 1976. NAT strife was reduced from that leadership. So if that document comes to the upper echelon, NAT will be in trouble. So these are the documents prepared or produced under the trick of NAT. Now we can see the document that to prove the tricky activity of NAT. And he said that please, Angkar, make it effort for release. So the request would be like this: please, Angkar, we need to arrest this one or that one. It's like that. But in conclusion, I'm not denying my crimes. I have a tendency to make this conclusion, but I need to put this before the trial chamber and to explain to the Cambodian people on that fact. Thank you. The President, now it is time for break for lunch, and the last question by the Defense Counsel were all completed, and as our schedule, we will have one afternoon for the establishment and functioning of S24. And now we can complete the hearing before the expected the plan of hearing. So the trial chamber declared the adjournment the hearing for today, and we will resume on the 29th from 9 o'clock of Monday. And the party are also advised that the hearing next week we will hear the testimony of the survivors from S21. So the parties please be informed and attend and join the hearing as scheduled. The security officer take him back to the detention facility and bring him back to the courtroom on the 29th of June before 9 o'clock in the morning.
basis when those incidents arose that caused Hugh Sray and Hoare concern. Is that correct? The reports came to you as to these incidents throughout the 3-year period.
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, frankly, I would like to tell you that because I don't understand well the English, but the translation also limited. I try to give you a response based on my understanding, and if you don't get the answer, please ask me further about that. First, the two person Ho and Hui who was always there, he was very concerned that he need to guarantee before the party to prevent those people from rebelling, not to escape, and to ensure that the production is in progress, and ensure that the detainee to respect or to adhere to the discipline, and the superior was also very busy, and the superior cannot help them. This is my answer for you.
Thank you, and I apologize for the question. It was quite long, but perhaps if I can shorten it. The reports of the killings at Chung Ek and the reports of the arrest from Presa to S21 in Phnom Penh, they came to you from Hoare and perhaps Hugh Sray on a consistent basis throughout that 3 and a bit years of operation of S21.
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, Hui Sray was the one who reported to the superior, to the committee, as he was the member of the S21 committee. He made regular reports. I'm not quite sure whether it's a monthly or a weekly report, so I can't recall. It might be, it's more likely a monthly report to the committee. But in exceptional case, he reported more often than that, if it was not a written, but some cases it was a oral report.
Thank you. So, is it fair to say that you put a very large responsibility onto Hoare and to Hugh Sray, particularly in relation to Presa, those 1,300 elements or detainees that were there in 1977, those other S21 staff members and their families that were there at S24. You put a great deal of responsibility onto these two men because they were the decision makers, they were the deciders as to whether any one of those people lived or died. That was a great deal of responsibility that you authorized them to have. Do you agree?
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, at the beginning I would like to make this matter into two. First, the S21 staff at Brazil have a better authority and rights than the other who were at S21, the rights to make the arrest. So for those who were at S21 with me, they need to come through me before arrest and anything. So the elements in the three categories that I reported to the chamber, it was a great authority that I delegate to them. Why it was like that? Because the party line instructed like that. For those who were half prisoner, the subordinate at that place can make decision. So their authority and power regarding those elements, I agree that it was a great responsibility that I delegated to them.
Thank you. And perhaps just a brief couple of questions on the issue of reporting systems. I don't want to go into great detail, but to the co-investigative judges, you have said that reports were coming in from PRESA on a daily basis to S21. And in a way, you were talking about production reports, rice production reports, and personnel reports, whether people were sick, whether they were, how many people were working. They were coming into S21 on a daily basis. And you've also said you were getting other types of reports, reports in relation to incidents that occurred at PRESA that would require your particular involvement. And you've also said today that you were getting reports of the deaths of individuals that had been sent to Chung Ek, and reports of arrests of individuals from PRESA to the S21 in Phnom Penh. So it's very difficult to talk about one type of report because they relate to very different topics. And so my question is, at times you've said you receive reports on a daily basis. At times you've said you receive reports on a weekly basis. And just a moment ago you said you received reports maybe on a monthly basis. Would it be fair to say, based on all of the statements you've made, the court will be able to review the transcripts in the case file, that in fact you were well informed about everything that was happening at PRESA through your daily meetings with Hor, your 2 to 3 meetings on occasion every day, your constant contact with Hugh Sray? Wouldn't it be fair to say that you were given a lot of information as to what was happening at S24, but it's difficult 30 years later to remember back, particularly how much and how often? It's a long question again, but perhaps if you can try, and I can repeat, I can abbreviate it if that's necessary. But.
The accused, thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, who understands my recollections. It was 30 years now. It diminished or it become weak. I received a written report on the paper about the number of sick people, the people who can do the work. In principle, at the battlefield, they prepare that kind of report so that the commander can make decision. But based on those reports, I did not make any instruction. As you may know, I have lots of work to do, so I gave priority to the annotation. So as they were doing that kind of work a long time, so I delegate that work for them. In a monthly report, it is a regular report, and sometimes several months there was one report. But some of the report I look at them and I make the notation and send to the upper echelon, and some of the report I would just receive and keep. But I'm not quite sure how many reports that I receive and how many of them that I read and annotated. But I could not recall the exact number. So if you have the document so that I can look and I can tell you further if you have the document. I think my response is not give enough information to you. If you have any further question, please.
Thank you. I won't show you any documents because, as you might know, I have 10 minutes left to question you, and perhaps I can ask you, say, three last questions. And the first one is in relation to the killings at Presa. You had effective control over Hor and Husray, and you were told about when those killings had occurred, but you did nothing to stop those killings throughout the 3-year period. And if you can say yes or no, I would appreciate it.
The accused, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, your question is very clear. Yes, I did not stop it.
Thank you. Just 2 more questions. In fact, you had given a standing killing order to Husray and to Hor to implement as necessary at Presa. Yes or no? And if I need to explain what standing order means, I can do that.
The accused, I cannot understand the meaning of your question. My apology. Can you repeat your question, please?
I've looked across the courtroom and I think a few others didn't, so perhaps it was me. By giving Hor and Husray the authority to decide on what offences would require a killing at Chunget from Presa, by giving them that authority, that was an order or an authority that only needed to be given once. You didn't need to give it to them every day for those 2.5 to 3 years. There was an understanding that they had that power to do it.
The accused. Your question is clear now. Yes, the authority was given once only. I do not need to repeat the authority given to them on each case.
And my last question. So, if we look at the killings of prisoners at Presar that were taken to Chung Ek, you can't say your superior ordered you to do that, but you took positive steps with Hugh Sray and Hoare to ensure that detainees at Presar were killed because you were deeply committed to the criminal ideology of the CPK. Do you understand that question?
The accused. Yes, I will attempt to answer your question. If it is not to the point, you can repeat your question. The criminal line of the CPK. Yes, I am fully responsible for it. However, in the actual implementation, they implemented it. But I am responsible before the party, so I am responsible for all these crimes.
Thank you, Mr. Gang Duk U. We appreciate your honesty and your clarity. No further questions, Your Honour.
The President. Next, the floor is open for the civil party lawyers. First, the floor is now for the lawyer for civil party group 1. You can put questions to the accused. You have 15 minutes in questioning the accused.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. I want to inform you that, yes, indeed, all the civil party groups are anxious to put questions, so we have divided up the total speaking time by 4. Each group has 15 minutes. Please authorize us, as last Tuesday, to divide up our own time. And I would like my colleague to take the floor first. Thank you for your understanding.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because of the short time allocation, let me put the question straight away to the accused. First question. When you requested to have the Baku location, as you said yesterday, was it your own initiative or not? The accused. Miss Lawyer, it was my own initiative. So, Metavi back microphone. Trisina. In relation to the Presor location, were pits dug in order to bury the dead bodies? The accused. Let me respond in one word. I am unclear. However, in principle, as per my instructions, there should be no burial site at all at Presor. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, you said you went to Chiang Mai for one time and to pray so for 4 to 5 times. When you went there, you saw the overall view of the locations. Did you ever think you committed an offense toward those prisoners? The accused, Ms. Lawyer, the lives of people directly or indirectly were ordered by us to be killed, to be monitored, or to have pressure applied. Yes, I thought of that. However, what I say is not a denial. In order to counter that feeling, I stick to the view that the government was responsible before the history. At that time, I did not believe that the DK would be defeated. So I did what I was asked. This is my response to the government at the time, and that was my thinking. Although I saw those crimes, I did not protest. Tisrina, thank you. And after you returned, did you ever think or attempts to minimize the killing activities? The accused, Ms. Lawyer, frankly speaking, no. I only tried my best to survive. I did what I was asked. Tisrina, thank you. Yesterday, you said on the 6th of July 1979. My apology, it's the 6th of January 1979. You fled from Phnom Penh due to the attack of the Vietnamese troops. You also said the surviving prisoners who fled along with you. Was that true? The accused, Ms. Lawyer, when I fled Phnom Penh, that was correct. I fled hastily. I only had the clothes on my body. I left at 2 p.m. on the 7th of January 1979. And from Phnom Penh, there were some people who fled along. However, there were some remained behind. And I think I only knew this after I saw the photos, the 9 people who remained behind, and the rest fled with me. This is my response. Tisrina, for those who fled along with you, did they go voluntarily or were they forced with weapons to go along with you? The accused. I did not see it directly, but they went along with us. The situation was chaotic, so I don't think anybody forced anybody else because of such chaotic situations. This is from my recollection. Thank you, says Tisrina. This is my last question. I want to ask, when you acknowledge your responsibility for your crimes during the Democratic Cambodia, when did you realize of your criminal responsibility? Does it occur to you now, or you were aware of that from that era? The accused, Ms. Lawyer. As human beings, we are not too cruel to acknowledge the criminal activities we did. However, at that time, in order to comfort ourselves, we just pretended it was the work of the police that we had to do. And I was told of my responsibility and the police work when I was being assigned to be the chairman, because they gave the order for the arrest, so they were responsible before the history. And later on, when I saw so many mass killings, I became so shocked. And my only wish was to ask for forgiveness and to pray for the souls of those who lost their lives in Cambodia in general and in S21 in particular. However, before the law, I am still a policeman, and they are still responsible before the history. At the military court, I reported everything, and when I met a journalist, I also reported it. Also with the Japanese, the Italian journalists, I told them I am a policeman and they were the government. However, now before the ECCC, when the two defense counsels explains to me that I had to confess and to be responsible for my crimes, so whatever I can recall, I speak it out. And if there are any further documents, yes, I would acknowledge more. And I would not put the blame on the government like I did in the past. I acknowledge I am a criminal amongst those criminals. And that was my stance. Thank you, Tisrina. Thank you for answering my question. I have no more questions. And I would now like to give the floor to my international colleague. Yes, the floor is yours, Lawyer Werner.
Pardon.
Mr. President, my Swiss watch says I still have 5.5 minutes. So I shall do my very best to ask questions on only one topic in 5.5 minutes. Good morning. I'd like to concentrate on one particular aspect that I believe has not been covered or has only been covered very, very briefly yesterday and today. The transfer of staff member from S21 to Presar. You made a statement with the co-investigating judges, but I don't have enough time, I think, to read it all out. Let me just summarize what you said to the co-investigating judges on 30th April 2008. The reference is D71, page 2 and 3. Fundamentally, you said that when relatives or close people of S21 cadre were arrested, the cadre would be sent to Presar to be closely monitored. And you mentioned the example of Sammet, who worked in S21. His brother and sister-in-law were arrested, and they had committed no offense. They were sent to Presar. Can you confirm that this is correct?
Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. Yes, I can confirm that there is no change.
Simplement très vite.
Thank you. And very briefly, according to you, how many times would this kind of thing have happened? How many members of S21 staff were sent to Presar?
The accused, I cannot recall, but I can raise one issue. Camera Toi Teng, who was responsible for digging pits at Chiang Ai, was a cousin of other two comrades. We sent them to dig pits, and they were removed from the special unit in Phnom Penh. So that was one incident that is related to the relatives. So that is an example for you. And there are other cases as well.
Alors, monsieur, ce que j'aimerais vous...
Question. I would like to put the following to you. You said with the co-investigating judges on national, not read it in full. Let me simply summarize. On the 18th February 2008, and for my colleague, this is reference D46, page 8 and 9. You said to the co-investigating judges that the same thing happened to you, meaning that a member of your family was arrested in S21. You're referring to your brother-in-law, Turn. You said that one first time you tried to cover him, you wrote clandestinely a letter to Son Sen for your brother-in-law not to be arrested. And finally, Nunchia ordered the brother-in-law to be arrested, and your brother-in-law consequently was transferred to S21. Can you confirm this, please?
The accuser, Mr. Lawyer, what I can think as a misinterpretation is only on one word, that I wrote a letter to Son Sen. I did not write a letter to him. However, the principle that I wanted to defend my brother, yes. And later on, Uncle Noon ordered for his arrest, yes. I would just say a little bit more in addition to my response to your question. Is it possible?
Avec votre indulgence, monsieur.
Sir, since my time is virtually over, I have two last questions. I think we understand that your brother-in-law was sent to S21. My follow-up question is as follows. There was a rule to the effect that when an employee of S21 had families, that family would be sent to S24. Why did nothing happen to you when your own brother-in-law was sent to S21? How can you explain this, sir?
The accused, Mr. Lawyer, that is the issue that I want to add to your last question. Within my family, I was the main person. And in the Communist Party of Cambodia, I was the main person within my family. If I was arrested, then everything's gone. Nobody would be spared. My brother was arrested. He was just an ordinary member of the family.
Mr. President, please 1 minute for one last point. May I? Thank you. I would like to suggest the following, sir. We seem to be in the same kind of scenario as the day before yesterday regarding confessions of Kye Kim Hot and Von Vet that we were referring to and where you were involved. Our hypothesis is as follows. I would simply like to submit this to you and to get your comment. The idea is, whatever the purges, whatever the deportations that were all around you, whatever the level of your own involvement, either through confessions or through a member of your family sent to S21. Nevertheless, nothing ever happened to you. You were beyond being affected, and you were thus not touchable because you were protected by Son Sen and Nunchia, because they appreciated your zeal, especially in the form of the lists of enemies that you provided. This is a hypothesis that I'm putting to you once again. Do you agree with this?
The accused, Mr. Lawyer. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. I survived because of all these matters, and that is the reality. However, the important thing in hindsight, that is, I was absolutely loyal and honest to them, and that was seen through their eyes. I was monitored and followed as well. They had some mistrust on me as well. So this is my response to you.
Thank you very much for answering, and thank you for indulgence too. Thank you.
The President, now it's time for the lawyer for the second group of the civil party. Before I hand the floor to the lawyers, I would like to remind the accused to try your best to use pseudonyms for the witnesses who are involved in the case file, and they have not yet provided the testimonies to this chamber. So for all the witnesses or those people involved in the case file, please use the pseudonyms which were already given to you. Next, the floor is for the lawyers for Civil Party Group 2. If you have questions for the accused.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. We have questions, and I will represent group number 2. I assume that I can ask my questions before the break. Am I right? Okay, thank you. My questions are the following. You have told us that elements was an officially used term, and you have told us as well that so-called elements have lost their rights of civilians and were treated like animals. Is this correct?
The accused, Ms. Lawyer, it is correct.
Thank you. Thank you. My question is then, was this term accompanied by the term contemptible, like it was used for the enemies? Or were other degrading words added in the official use of elements, also to add other degrading words like, for example, me and are or contemptible.
The accused, Miss Lawyer, the terms contemptible or evil was used for the animals and for the enemies. It is correct. But for the elements, contemptible and evil things not used for the elements, but they were not given the same rights as others. That's all I can say.
Thank you. My next question on this issue is, did the term elements have a similar function like the term enemy? And there I mean with the same function, to use this term for them to facilitate that staff could ill-treat them, beat them, torture them, interrogate them, to facilitate this work for the staff. Did it have the same or similar, let's say similar function or role?
The accused, Miss Lawyer, the terms elements I explained already. It means that the person is half enemy, is half friend, but it's not clear whether he or she is a friend or enemy. The terms was used in practice is more serious than the 17 April people. Yes, it is more serious than the 17 April people.